whakahaere ki te tautoko i a koutou. Piri no kia koe te suahine arihia.
No worries.
Me ngā herenga. I mahi au ki te taho ngā kōka e rua ki pāpā ioia, ki ahana.
Hata, you can finish before you get to it.
Taki haere, e rātino ngā āwhatanga no reira e hoki ngā mahara ki a rāma. E tō pāpā.
Can you ever look?
No reira kei te tautoko, te katoa. Ki au ngā mahi pai ara. No reira ka nui tērā e homa. Hari te mea ka tū tēnei ki whakararungi e koutou. Hana mai au ki te tautoko i ngā minute, te tautoko i te reo mihi, kua mihia. Me tāku kia koutou, nōku te whiwhi, ka hara mai mātou ko te puni kōkiri te tautoko i ngā mahi. A ko te tumanako, mea kai a koutou e tahi āhuatanga, e tahi hia, mā mātou koutou e tautoko karanga mai. Ko koutou e whakamārama tēnā ki taku tumaki ki a Rāwiri. Te mone hutanga te whakapua ki te arataoroa. Ki ngā pai maunga. Ihi koia e te tini. E te mano. Kia tau ki te toka o maunara. Kaha koutou, hanga rā e rua kei te hara mai me whakanui koutou kia koutou. Ko tira nei rā te mihi o te puni kōkiri. Kai kei kahuri, tēnā koutou, kia ora hui mai tātou.
last one in's about neck.
Hold it, will he have things?
Please don't run though.
Hurry up, brother Huda, you'll be doing the dishes.
Hurry up, but walk. Find yourself a better seat now.
Hustle, hustle. Tristan Toe walking away. Bring those people in. Te o me ka pā, kia tere. Or you'll be signing a contract. Hara mai, hoki mai, chuck it back. Or bring it with you. Please bring with you a friend. Kurt, rally them up, will you, darling? Many jewels, you're wanted at the stage.
careful where you walk today, whānau. In particular, we don't want you texting and walking. Okay? So please make sure that if you need to text, stay stationary and you can do your business like that. Wharepaku. We have wharepaku inside the middle, inside the whare. We also have wharepaku to the left, outside the tent. So I don't know if you've used them yet, the toilets, but they're luxury toilets. They're beautiful. There's lovely music going on in there. They smell great. I've already used them. Please remember the wharepaku are to our left and inside the whare. Smoking points. Tell them where the smoking points are out of here.
Now, hands up those who still smoke. Hands up, loud and proud. For those who smoke, you are not to be victimized. You are not to be picked on. You are not to have any signs above you that says, I want to kill myself. Or any of those nonsense. Because we are all here to love you as well. The problem is not about the smoker. It's about the smoking. So in our love and regard to support you, we do have an area for you to go and partake at the back of the admin block, if you haven't already sussed that yourselves. But we certainly do encourage you to consider whether you want to be free of that ties that bind you. How's that?
Ka pai. So that's our health and safety briefing, everyone. We'll be briefing for health and safety each morning.
Okay, so in her second role as the kai whakahaere, Lisa discovered that we have pūtea that hasn't been allocated. Yes, she has, and it's quite a substantial amount, so I need to have you to be a little bit more quiet so that you can hear what she's decided she wants to do with it. Okay? So with that, she has decided that even all our manuhiri and together with all our Ngāi Tahu rohe, that you're all going to go on a holiday.
Where are we going?
You're going on a holiday. And where are you going?
Where are we going? What's the criteria?
And I want you to do, listen, when you go on the holiday, in that corner, you're going to go to Hawaii. In this corner, you're going to Queenstown. Woo! In this corner over here, you're going to go to Kaikoura.
That's the front half.
And over here, you're going to go, now hang on, what did she say? Hokitika.
Hokitika.
Okay, so in that corner you're going to, and in this corner you're going to Queenstown, that corner you're going to, and over here, in this corner here, you're going to Hokitika.
Perfect.
When you want to choose a place that you want to Hawaii, to go to Haerenga to, and move now. Go. That means you've got to get up. Yes, you do, especially those from Australia.
You want to move to that corner because that's where you want to go.
Tāti Pine wants to stay in Hokitika over here. Come on, because you've got quite a few thousands you've got to spend. So we're looking for an indication. Hawaii, Queenstown,
Kaikoura,
Hokitika. Move now.
Leaston.
You can detour to Leaston afterwards.
We'll stop
Let's
at Leaston
go.
on the way.
Come on.
People are happy where they are, Amaria.
No, they're not. They're not even moving.
Sounds like they just like to get out. Doesn't matter where it is.
Well, we can put that pūtea back into the coffers
We lost it.
and reallocate it.
We lost it.
But don't say you weren't invited. If you're happy with that, we did it actually.
Let me talk about some stores. So we have many stores here at the Hui-ā-Iwi over the weekend. Already opened, in fact. Opening hours for the stores are today until 7 p.m. Tomorrow, Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And also on Sunday, 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. So we've got all sorts of activity happening in the stores. Please come and join us. There are some food stores there. There are contemporary Māori art, Māori fashion and design. Ngāi Tahu have all of their stores. We have university stores, high water stores and community organisations. But please make sure you get along. I'm pretty sure they've got giveaways. I've had a bunch of lollies myself. Rangatahi space. So you'll know that the Hui-ā-Iwi is across a few areas this weekend. It's not only here at the Marae, also across at St. Stephen's Church is the whakapapa unit. And down at the school we have a number of stores as well. I think there are 65 stores over the course of the weekend for you. So if you have your children here, shoo them down to the rangatahi space. They've got all sorts of exciting things going on down there. Hellas has sponsored them for a sausage sizzle tonight. I think Vodafone has sponsored them. They've got a couple of roving reporters around the place. So some of the stuff that they're doing down in the rangatahi space. Today, with our Tuahiwi rangatahi ambassadors, they've got a games night. So they'll be hosting a housey, which will be in Te Reo Māori. And there'll be a number of prizes, which those kids have managed to get some sponsorship for. So it's going to be a fun day down there.
It's going to be excellent rangatahi space. Now, in the ture wairua space tomorrow morning in the Mahu Nui too, if you have a look into your programs, into your puka puka, and you'll see all the different events that are going on in the wairua space. We start off with the wairua connections with Mr. Andy Douglas, who's going to do some channeling and do another different type of connection that some of you may be aware of and want to partake in that. Go across to our own whānau from Kaikoura, Simon's Apothecary. That is really interesting. And so using mātauranga passed down from the wahine, Simon shares with us natural and practical remedies for healing. Across from there, Tinana repairs herself, and that's about how your body actually has the basis of fixing up its own dramas. So if you want to know how to do that and get connected with your tinana, then you have a look in page 14. Have a look on page 14 in here, in the wairua space. Then we move over to Te Hahi o Te Wairua with Huda Cook Crofts and Brian Lewis. And then we've got also Touched by Anahera. Now you really want to make sure that you get into the Mahunui too, so that you can get a handle on what's the Touched by Anahera in that space. So to their wairua, your tangata, tangata is totally covered by all the activities that we've got going on, but the ture wairua is something special. And for some of you who were here last night, and when we unveiled the ngutu out the front with the tohu, we had all the anahera beaming in last night. It was really special. And we had a wonderful crowd. So make sure you have a look in this. No one is not to be refused by any of these things. It's all open to all our whānau and our manuhiri and our friends. So by all means, everyone is welcome.
And if we're looking after our rangatahi and tamariki down at the school, then we also are looking after our kaumātua. So we have a special kaumātua space for you. They've told me to say that means that you have to be 65 years and over. So the kaumātua lounge is over in Te Ao Marama, which is our dining room. Please feel free to go to use their services. They have a lot of really cool things happening for you all. They have a high, so let me read this off. They have midi, so you'll be able to be massaged. I think there's a schedule there. You just sign up to it. I think you might be able to send a personal message. So the midi, the massage space is open it's actually open now. It's been open since Thursday. Amaria, you've experienced?
I've had the full carry on, 2.5 hours with their hands all over me. It was just fabulous. Nothing like coming home to midi with your own. for sure. And then they're doing fingernails, nail craft and so forth. So all you kaumātua, including you men, you know, Uncle Charlie, you could do a little bit of razzle-dazzle on your fingernails. I know, he wants the midi-midi. Choice. You and Higgins. They'll love it. They're all up for the touch.
Tomorrow we have, in the kaumātua space, we have high tea. So please go and join them for a high tea. There are 2 scare times for the high tea over in the kaumātua lounge. We've got high tea already, Auntie. High tea is at 10 a.m. through to 10:45, where you'll be treated, and also tomorrow at 3, from 3 to 3:45. So for our kaumātua, please go and join. Have some fun, relax, maybe have a little sleep. Don't want
a little bit moi. Some of you might need a nanny nap. That's okay, just so long as you kind of don't get in the way, because that can, you know, people can trip up. But if you need a bit of moi or you need a quiet time, let us know. We can help facilitate that and give you a muffin for good measure.
Whare toi. We have a whare toi space at the Hui-ā-Iwi this year. So our whare toi space will feature art from renowned Ngāi Tahu artists, as well as displays, demonstrations in a retail space. So you can purchase some of that wonderful art. Most of the retail stores and are whānau run, and will also include a range of delicious kai. So please go and utilise, go and check out those areas when you get sick of me and Amaria, when you know we're just trying to buy time.
So did any of you come down from the kura on one of the little golf carts? They've got a golf cart getting around here for kaumātua, so that if you feel somewhat weary and want to go and get your car or whatever else, or even just go up and down the road, like some of our Tuahiwians this morning, then know that we've got this little vehicle to triage you up and down the road here today. Yeah.
Because the roads will be closed, so you're not going to get run over by a truck. We've got the roads closed throughout the Hui-ā-Iwi, so essentially they belong to us for the full weekend. So please utilise the service if you don't want to walk yourself down or back. I had a ride on it last night.
I heard.
Did you see that?
I heard. These were burning up and down the road.
We are par kids.
Of course.
We've got to have
you
a
have to. It's tikanga. Uncle Charlie would have been doing that if he could have been here. I have no doubt.
Ngāi Tahu Tourism. Ngāi Tahu Tourism will be in the house this weekend. We were hoping to have some jet boat rides on the Waimakariri River. However, we had the international jet boat event a few weeks ago, and unfortunately there was a fatality on the river.
Yeah.
So we thought it best that we cancel that part of things for this year, unfortunately. I can remember the last Hui-ā Tahu that we held here, and I was only a little kid, and I did that experience. It was fantastic. However, Ngāi Tahu Tourism is still here and beyond. They'll be on site all weekend to share their ever-growing portfolio of mahi with our whānau. A shot-over jet boat will be on display on Saturday, with competitions and epic prizes open for entry at the tourism stall. So, the prizes include a Queenstown prize package for 2. You have to go to the Ngāi Tahu Tourism stall to register for these prizes. The first prize is a Queenstown prize package for 2, travel, accommodation, shot-over jet ride, horse riding experience on the Dart River Stables, and a scenic helicopter ride. There is another condition for that. You have to take me and Amaria with you for a ride.
On the couch? Who do you want to talk to?
They will also be having a Rotorua prize package for 2, exactly the same stuff. They'll be having travel accommodation, entry to the Agrodome, including a backcountry adventure, rainbow screens, including back of house Kiwi Encounter and the Hooker Falls jet boat ride. So go register at the Ngāi Tahu Tourism desk for those prizes.
Nathan Pōhio. Kei hea koe Nathan Pōhio.
We're going to move up.
Hara mai e hoa.
Taiho.
Excellent.
Introduce.
Taiwa, Nathan. So, we're finished? You got 5 minutes? Yeah, well, we'll just do Nathan Pōwhiri for now, eh?
Kia ora whānau. We'd like to welcome to the stage Nathan Pōwhiri. Round of applause, please.
So, some of you may not have gone into the Mahunui 2 this morning and had a chance to do that, but since the last time we were in there last night, it has changed somewhat, and it's because of this man. And if some of you haven't been in there yet, then I encourage you all to go in and have a look at what Nathan Pōwhiri has done to our whare. Come here, Ewa. So the last time I saw you and we were in company was in Tamaki earlier this year, when you took out, what was the competition you were entered into?
I was invited into the Walters Prize, New Zealand's premier prestigious art prize. This was up in Tamaki Makaurau at Auckland Art Gallery, and we took our tipuna up into the takiwā of Tamaki Makaurau, and in order to do that, actually, I'd actually requested that a Gottfried Lindau portrait of Hakapati Ato 2 be installed inside the gallery so that our tupuna had tupuna to acknowledge that we were there with purpose, besides being an artwork on their territory.
And I'll tell you, if some of you had the privilege of being in Auckland and looking at the works that Nathan produced, and it really took your breath away, because there's a stunning light box, all our tupuna blazing, and right in front of the Auckland Art Gallery, and it took your breath away. And then you entered with 2 others?
Yes, there was 4 of us in all, 3 Māori artists. I think I'm the first artist from the South Island, living in the South Island, to exhibit and be invited into it. And there was Shannon Tiao, kia ora, Lisa Reihana, and Joyce Campbell, all friends of mine as well. So we had a bit of a love fest. You know, we're all friends, competing together and exhibiting together. Exhibiting and competing together. It was strange. After that, well, shall I take this off you? Kia ora whānau. The light box that we're speaking of was first commissioned in 2015 for Escape Public Art. And it was an invitation to present a piece of public artwork within the 4 Avs. And of course, thinking about this as not just as producing an artwork, but also something that speaks for us or to us, is from us as a people. And also, I think in some ways is actually a political statement as well, by creating this light box that's suspended 5 meters into the air. It's 8 meters wide. The image itself is 2.4 meters high, and it glows day and night, of a photograph taken from just down the road here in 1905.
Wonderful. Tell us, Nathan, about your role as assistant curator at Tipuna or Waifetu, Christchurch Art Gallery.
Yeah, definitely.
Tell us about that one.
Well, it's a role that's come out of the situation of us recovering through the earthquake, really. It's a situation where there was simply a space available that the staff at the time were overworked to be able to negotiate, and they said, Nathan, what would you do here? And I said, oh, well, I would acknowledge the 18 papatapu Rūnanga of Te Runga o Ngāi Tahu on the motu. And this is how I would do it. I would actually try and find the earliest existing examples of watercolours or drawings from those areas. That was my first attempt. That was, and I got the title Te Rua o Te Moko, referring to the takatimu canoe embedded down south, and the action of creating, using ash to create a material for mark making, and that was to me the connection with the exhibition.
Wonderful. Nathan's going to join us a little later on the couch with a number of other guests. Maria's now going to introduce Te Maire Tau for...
Kia ora, Robbie. So,
I must acknowledge Tahupotiki Regan for his support in one of the later exhibitions, Extraordinary. Kia ora.
he's an extraordinary man as well. So all the way from Ngāi Tūāhuriri, the extraordinary Nathan Pōwhiri, taking our artworks to the world stage. Okay, so stand up, all of those of you who were here at the first tribunal hearing when we were here 30 years ago. E tū. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 of us. We are all in very fine company. And that we've made it 30 years later to be here. The change, the transformation from then to now, that's extraordinary as well. And no less than back then, Te Maire Tau and I were very good friends. Kind of extremely as well. 30 years later, not so much. Maybe now and then. But I tell you, the best product that came out of that is strutting around here, making all sorts of decisions, gathered together some of the images of yesteryear, and is our proudest product of the Ngāi Tahu claim. So much so that Rick Tau actually proposed that we might name her Te Kreme. But instead we waited for the wall up there. There's no requirement to introduce Te Maire. He is our upoko, and I have great pleasure then to pass this over to him. Homai te pakipaki.
I'll talk over here. How do I turn this off? I'll speak through here. Well, thank you for coming, everyone. Just for the general population out there, in 3 minutes we're going to play a video that really is a fascinating video of the first claim hearing in 1987. So if you're there, make your way back in the whare. What today's about is to take our time to give thanks to the people who helped us. And that's not just the A-team, who I think have been thanked often, but the people who were out in the communities and the Pākehā communities. People like Elsie Locke from Christchurch, Murray Bruce from Waiho, Mike Knowles from Christchurch, who led the Tuahi claim, and others. It's also a time to acknowledge the ringawera, who really are quite elderly now. We were wanting them to participate. Actually, when the Ngāi Tahu idea came up, we automatically thought, right, we'll go to Joan, Colleen, Toko, and let them run it. And I think there was a look of horror on their face. We just haven't realised that ko mātua tia tātou. So, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to play a video that I've found a long time. It's just been hiding in the vaults for quite some time. It's the video of the first tribunal hearing. Absolutely fascinating video to look at. Most of you are there, many are not. And we thought we'd play it today for you simply to remind ourselves the background that we came from, because quite frankly, there weren't many at that hui when you look at it. Can we have the video playing, please?
Nau mai haere mai ki tēnei o tātou wharae. Haere mai anō, ki te takatūrua ki tēnei o tātou take, te krema o Ngāi Tahu.
Mihi Tahu, you are the applicant for the Ngāi Tahu claim. Why do you see the need for this claim to the tribunal?
I see the need to bring peace. Peace for the both treaty partners, Māori and Pākehā, so we can live together in harmony. The Crown has responded by recognising the Treaty of Waitangi Act 1975 and amendments of 1986. The neglect or our feelings as a family to the past neglects is one of a crusade, not only by our family but by all Māoridom, to restore the principles of the treaty. In effect, if there has been any suffering, it has been in the area of development, economic development, in the area of education, because Ngāi Tahu, as well as all Māoris, have prosecuted and pursued those principles ever since the signing of the Treaty of Waitangi. So it means that all Māoridom have sacrificed education, have sacrificed their economic development and an economic base, simply to have the Treaty of Waitangi respected. We are claiming the restoration of our dignity, of our identity, and of our history. And that is wrapped up in lands, the mahi ngā kai, and our waterways. Our social order has changed from the arakitanga to the Rūnanga structure, and now we must change to recognise the overall economy of New Zealand today. We must be a part of it. That is what the Treaty of Waitangi says, that we are partners. Our people must be educated to take control of those assets in a professional way. We live in the 1980s now, not in the 1880s. So it's a different ball game altogether.
Thank you, Rarity. The reason why we played that video is today, this is the day we acknowledge those who have passed. Because tomorrow, we want to talk about the future. And the future's ahead of us, and there's a new generation that I believe can lead us. They're on the table, they're outside, they're here with us today. And so I think it's appropriate that today we just consider why we're here. We're here because people such as Tipene, and we're lucky to still have him with us. Tipene, my father, who was quite often a complicated person. Those old people sacrificed a lot, but here's the thing they wanted. They didn't necessarily believe their children would have wealth because it was the 1980s and there was a lot of unemployment. A lot of those people at Pōwhiri were from PEP work schemes. They didn't necessarily believe their children would have a future, but they hoped their mokopuna would. Now here's the thing. Their mokopuna are young adults now. We can't keep on talking about our descendants after us because our obligations of those people in there is to work for our children now. We have to build a future for them. We do that tomorrow. We do that by planning and discussing economic development and what we're going to do. But for the moment, I think we just settle ourselves, acknowledge what happened, and acknowledge the political courage that these people took on our behalf. So on that, I want to invite Sir Tipene to talk about this period and more importantly, what he sees for the future. Kia ora.
E te ti e te tā, e raurakatira mā, e paua mā, e taua mā, tēnā koutou, tēnā rā tātou. Ka te mihi atu, ki te ahua o te ka Hui-ā-Iwi, ko tai mai I roto ki a tātou. Ka te tautoko ka mihi ki a koutou, me o koutou whakaaro rakatira ki a mātou. I'm primarily concerned, if I could have the image, of just taking you back a few steps to this man. He was a refugee from Kaiapoi. We have some amazing documentary material about this man, Matiaha Tere Morehu. But we date the Ngāi Te Kereme o Ngāi Tahu, the Ngāi Tahu claim, which its full title from when it was finally put together at Oro Whenua is Te Kereme o Ngāi Tahu me Ngāti Māmoe. And it's a remarkable story of how they got to that point and how they saw themselves that way. You need really to study something like the Game of Thrones on television. But the main point is that by the time that the first Pākehā started negotiating with us, we had been welded together by marriage and warfare, but very largely by marriage following warfare, into a unity. And that unity was very hard fought. It was continually stressed. And we have from time to time, even amongst ourselves today, similar stresses. But so does the Automobile Association and the Rugby Union. so does government. Who's willing to put money that California will still be part of the United States at the end of the century? Or that West Australia will be there? Or that we won't have finally seceded from the country south of Lake Taupo? Because that's the only part of New Zealand that actually runs at a net GNP profit. The rest of it's all consumption. Of course, votes, and of course, tax. But the generation of this country comes from the area south of Lake Taupo. That's the world we're going into. And when we're talking about economic development, we're talking about our part in it. We can no longer go on talking about our part in what used to be, but we've got to start thinking about what's going to be and designing our presence and our increasing scale for that. Now, I don't want to bore you with this sort of talk, but that man there, in 1849, 1 year after the Kemp Purchase, was complaining to the Crown and about mahi kakai. And it was about the guaranteed continuing access to natural resources. That man was complaining. He was an interesting man in all sorts of ways, but we date the time of our take, Te Keremi o Ngāi Tahu, from him, from 1849. It really started getting pace on and getting some sort of, as the whole economy was starting to change. All these lands out here were being drained. The most productive swamp in the world, Ototahi, was being converted into a garden city full of English trees. All its richness, well, why was Kaiapoi there as a pa? Because it was on an island in a swamp. A hugely productive swamp. It was all being changed. The countryside was being changed. All of the areas that we knew, all of that manuhuna right across the top, where we all went in from south, north, east and west, into, the Pākehās now call it the Mackenzie country after a thief they brought with them. Right? That whole area was the great weka hunting zone, where the poha would be made on the coast and carried in there, and the weka packed with poha would be brought back out to the various parts of the island. It was also one of the great centres, if not of marriage guidance, of marriage occurrence, because all the different hapu from different parts of the island would meet up in there annually. There are other things too, but we were developing a whole culture, and which is a dynamic evolutionary culture to adjust to this environment. No other tribes developed poha the way we did. Right? Many of them don't know what poha are. It was my great joy to enlarge the education of Ranginui Walker before he went. After that, I couldn't get the stop him ringing me for arrange for more. But all the world that this man came into was already changing. It was already changing. And then following him, it was dynamically changing. The whole environment of this country was changing. And our people were surviving in it. They were rubbished by it. They were cast off. The Pākehās that came after him, that got into government, were on the whole, there were a few paternalist, no underarm bowling type Pākehā of the Victorian kind doing a decent thing for a people who they thought were a dying race. And a lot of our own kaumātua thought so too. They thought we were going. And Dr. Featherstone's famous line was, "We have a duty, a Christian duty, to smooth the pillow of a dying race." They all knew what was best for us, and they did so. Now that whole thing, the whole world, they were changing our physical world, we were dying. And we didn't start turning back until about 1926, I think, is the first time that the Māori declining rate started to come back. And we came back fast, and we came back fast in Ngāi Tahu for all sorts of interesting reasons. It's because this man and his followers were dynamic adapters and developers. And that's the tradition we've got to get back to, instead of imitating the whole model out there of what is. We now have got to start, Māori and Ngāi Tahu in particular in this island, we've got to start thinking about how we want it to be, not reacting to what others think it should be. And this time, we won't run out of muskets. This time, we've got the kaha to think about these things. This time, such as Matiaha and those forebears that whose grievance we inherited in my generation, all they could do was react to what others were doing. We now have the capacity to strategize about how we want to be, how we want Aotearoa New Zealand to be, what kind of part we want to have in it. Interestingly enough, Te Rangiho, who was one of my great mentors, John Rangiho of Tūhoi, often used to say to me, Māori-Pākehā relations, no problem. No problem. We'll work that out. Māori-Māori relations, that's a problem. And potentially they still can be. We've only got to look what happened with fisheries, the way in which Māoridom just split up immediately in self-interest when it was proposed to sell the allocation of fisheries rights following the settlement should be done on the basis of population and not on treaty rights. When that was slammed through Parliament, it would be rude of me in the presence of Nanaia to point out who was in power at the time. And I'm not just talking of her Prime Minister at the time, I'm talking of her leading coalition relationships. However, that, and of course, it would be wrong of me to do so and inhospitable, and I wouldn't do it. But Māoridom split and sold out the treaty with a click of their fingers as soon as they saw a buck available, right? And then they turn around and say, we want treaty rights again. If someone wakes up to us, you know, if the power culture out there finally gets out of bed and wakes up to the ambivalences and contradictions in our world, you know, we're gone. So what I'm saying is this new generation has got to think much more strategically, but the tradition starts with him. Now, the last thing I'm going to tell you is the Ngāi Tahu claim was comprised of, the next slide please, of a series, essentially, of a series of non-performed contracts. Starting in 1844 with the Otako Block and ending in 1864 with the Rakiura purchase. The Crown acquired by purchase from us, right, for practically nothing, for nothing, right, a series, virtually the mana whenua of the whole island. Now, we retained in that, and the claim was about what should have been retained and the reserves that were not awarded. Broadly speaking, a tenth of everything that was sold. Every 10th section, rural and urban, of fair average value. So we did not claim in the Ngāi Tahu claim the whole island, we claimed our 10th. And what the media says about this repeatedly, you've just got to put out of your mind. They keep doing it, Pākehā journalists keep doing it. We claimed our 10th. And the Ngāi Tahu claim was about the reserves that were not awarded and the allocations of mahika kai that were made as a part of those transactions. We salvaged some titi islands off the back of Rakiura, which were not included in the Rakiura purchase. That's about the only thing where the Crown did not have a Crown title. Now what they did is they put the deposit down, drove the car out of the yard, and were never seen again. Right? The reserves were the major part of the agreements, and those reserves were not made. And that's what the claim was about. Reserves not awarded. And all of the stuff we've had since, we got back on place names, we got nohoaka, we got all sorts of things out of the settlement that we had to invent, because the value of that 1/10 of the Ngāi Tahu loss was in the range 10 to 16 billion dollars 1990. And I think the loss of Tainui at the time, Te Kotahi told me, was something of the order of, theirs calculated out at something of the order of 12 billion. But immaterial, we both knew there was no way the Crown could deliver that. Because New Zealand, we said it at the time, we do not want to bankrupt the society of which we want to have a more fulsome part. And so the Ngāi Tahu claim and settlement, along with the Tainui settlement, which is a bit different, but that was based around a series of devices which will keep on giving for quite a while yet, a series of devices, right, to overcome this enormous gap between our contribution to New Zealand Inc.'s capitalisation and what was available in the way of cash. All I can promise you, on behalf of the other negotiators, that when we'd finished in 1998, there was nothing left in the government cupboard for the time being. But the government can always wake up in the morning and start taxing again. We can't. So our great mission is to hold our assets, build our assets, right, and dream of how we want to be so we can do something with them. I'll conclude with this thought for you. The whole structure of our tribe, all the wealth we have, the wealth we are going to have, right, is absolutely pointless unless we commit ourselves completely to supporting on an intergenerational basis the maintenance and development of our heritage and our identity. If we lose that on the basis of some prescription from the National Business Review, we will be, in the words of St. Paul, what you have gained if you give away, if you lose, you become all the wealth in the world, but lose your soul. That's what we must not do. We must continue to build what and who we want to be. Tēnei te mihi atu kia koutou.
Can we please have Pat Anglam here? Toko Ngāwani Kaumatua. Pat's here? Right. Rūnanga o Ngāi Tahu, can we please have the taonga up here, please? All right, today what we're going to do is thank some people who deserve our acknowledgement. Straight after that, we're going to launch Arapata's and the Heritage Unit's book on our soldiers in the Great War. Are they here? Are they gathered? Right. Straight after that, 3:30, we're going to go and we'll go to the hangi. All right. Is Pat here? All right. Are the taonga here? And Toke's gone home. Well, what we're going to do now, Arapata, is we're going to start with the launch of the Great War Soldiers book. We'll start with you first. Very hot. You tell me when you're ready. You ready? Have you got the book? Yeah. What's the unit called? The Whakapapa Ngāi Tahu unit is undertaken, and we are launching today a wonderful taonga for us all, He Rau Mahara. And it celebrates a generation we don't know that well, which is the generation that went to the Great War. That's an entirely different generation from our grandparents who went to the Second World War. We actually don't know much about our ancestors that went to the Great War. And the Great War itself is largely questionable. So the Whakapapa unit has undertaken a research and they're launching this book today. Arapata and his team of writers have led it. So it's an honour and a privilege to ask Arapata to launch this book today. Thank you, Arapata.
Kia ora tātou. Whakatakata hau ki te uru, whakatakata hau ki te tonga. Kia mā kina ki uta, kia mā taratara ki tai. He hia ki ana te atakura, he teo, he hoka, he hauhu, te hei mauri ora. Ki ngā mihi nui ki te atua, ko e te timatana, ko e te whakamutana. Nāne hana ngā mea katoa. Ki ngā mihi, ki ngā mati, ki a rātou, kua haere ki tū o te arai, tēnei te mihi, tēnei te tangi, tēnei te poroporaki ki a rātou. He hoki ngā māhara tēnei ki mātua Spencer Morrison, nāne e tākoha mō ona, ku māhara mō tono tipuna a Victor Spencer. Nō reira he te paua, haere atu rā, haere atu rā, haere atu rā. Āpiti hono tātai hono, te huna mate ki te huna mate. Āpiti hono tātai hono, te huna ora ki te huna ora. E te mana o tēnei whenua, nā maunga ara, maunga whakahi, nā awa e rere ana, nā tohu o te whenua, tū mai rā hei whakaruruhau, mō waitaha, ka te māmoe, Ngāi Tahu. E nā kaikaranga, te reo kōrehi a tamawahine, tēnā koutou. E nā tai kāka o te nākau, kei te taumata o te kōrero, tēnā koutou. Kia koutou, e nā manuhiri, e nā hau e whā, e Ngāi Tahu whānui, paua mā, taua mā, mō oku whanaunga, tēnā koutou. Nō mātou te whiwhi, kua tai mai mātou, te kōrero e pā ānaki, te mahi o whakapapa Ngāi Tahu. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. Thank you everyone for being here today. It gives me great pleasure now to introduce He Raumahara to you. He Raumahara has been a long journey for the Whakapapa unit. To produce this book, it's taken us almost 4 years. It's a collection of memoirs shared by kaumātua, by children, grandchildren, nieces, great-nieces of some of our soldiers in World War I. We have 20 of those whānau stories within the book. We've also identified 265 that served in that First World War. Record keeping wasn't that great back in those times. And I did this presentation to our Rūnanga governors in September. And before I left the building, I had 2 texts. There was 4 soldiers that they'd identified that were not in that book. We were expecting this, that more names would continue coming after the publication. But that's not to say that in 12 to 18 months' time, we'll probably look at doing an addendum to the original book, and we'll include those stories, more of those soldiers, and we'll probably look to do that over the next 12 to 18 months. We owe a lot of thanks to a lot of people for this book, for this creation. Tā Tipuni and Te Pai Kōrako for their support 4 years ago and encouraging us to get on with this and do the job. To Arahia, our CEO, to my 2 general managers, previous and current, Charisma Rangipuna and Lynn Haratatiaika. Without your one's enduring support, this publication would never have got to the quality and standard it is today. In my mihi, I mihi to Spencer Morrison. Along with Spencer, I interviewed Spencer and Fred Ryan. They were the nephews of Victor Spencer. Victor Spencer was executed at dawn for desertion. Back then, there was no knowledge of post-traumatic stress disorders. There was no knowledge about shell shock. A lot of our men couldn't cope. And for whatever reasons, the British government decided that Victor should be shot at daybreak. The sad thing about it was they made their own New Zealand soldiers shoot him. This book is in a real emotional roller coaster. Growing up as a kid in Tuahiwi here in the 70s and 80s, we glamorised war, but we only knew World War II, G.I. Joes, Captain America. We all wanted to be that. And for some silly reason, I thought this one was going to be similar. But it was far from it indeed. Kaumātua, they shared their memories of their dad, of their paua, of their great uncle. Not all those memories were good memories. There was a lot of anguish on their return home. A lot of them couldn't cope with returning to normality, so to speak. But in amongst them, there were still some gems. I saw Uncle Arthur Flutie here earlier during the Pōwhiri. He was one of the very first that I spoke with, interviewed. And he was telling me he was fortunate he had a good dad. There was 5 Fluties went to war. Not all of his cousins were as fortunate as him. And just as a side issue, his father worked on the forestry plantation schemes after the war. They lived in Wood End Road, and his father, on a Sunday afternoon, biked all the way to Irwell Forest, and he would bike home again Friday night. For those that don't know, Irwell Forest, that's where the Ngāi Tahu farms are now. For me in my car, that takes 40 minutes, 45 minutes. His father biked there. It kind of puts my 45 minutes travel to show place into it's insignificant to what they endured. I always wondered when I started looking into this, and I came about this because my grandfather, his oldest brother, Hui-ā-Iwi, he served in the war. I only know this because his name's on the war memorial over at Pōwhiri. I asked my father about him, about his own uncle. He knew nothing. I asked his brothers, aunties, cousins. No one knew about him. He died not long after returning home when he was 19. My Pōwhiri was born that year. So my Pōwhiri had no memories of his oldest brother that he could share with his children and grandchildren. And I started wondering how many other uncles, forgotten uncles, were like this. He couldn't be the only one. And it turns out there were quite a lot. A lot of these men that died overseas or died not long after returning were not even admitted under the 1925 census lists when whānau submitted their whakapapa back to those 1848 kaumātua within Kempstead. It was only by pure luck that I found him in one of Dad's old whakapapa books that he had copied from his uncle, that Hui-ā-Iwi was there. I got a date of birth, I got a date of death, and his service number. So from that I was able to go into New Zealand archives and source his war records. And for that, I think that's where this all really started, this journey. And we're quite fortunate to have today what is considered a really precious tonga. Tamari and Tātipuni made some wonderful quotes last Thursday about the book. It's not for me to talk about it, I don't think, but I do need to acknowledge their admiration, their pride in the publication. And yeah, it's been a very humbling experience, especially sitting down with those kaumātua. They opened their homes, they opened their hearts, and they shared their memories with us. And for that, we'll be forever grateful for them. I had one of the kaumātua come up to me the other day, and you know, they said they felt like princesses. You know, we spoilt them last week. We brought them together, all of those that we interviewed, and just treated them like royalty. Yeah. Without them, without those memories, this book would be just another World War I book, I think. We'd love to do more, and I think we will continue doing more interviews with whānau about their Pōwhiri in the World War I. We're looking to launch a website in the next 6 to 8 weeks, probably just after Christmas and the New Year. And with the website, we can continually keep updating it with more stories, more soldiers, and more of those family memories. I've just about run out of my time. I'm just going to show a short video clip shortly. It's about 5.5 minutes. And it's a montage of those soldiers that we have photos for. I think we had photos for about 2/3 of them. But just before I do show that, the book is available for purchase. You can go through the Ngāi Tahu Communications website, but also we have them on sale this weekend over at the church. And Beth Tiaika and Lexi Rubin, they've also got 29 photos of the Tuahiwi men that are listed from World War I. We've got 30 names, 29 photos, so one's missing, we're not sure where that is. But the thing is, we want to match up those names with the photos, because we've just got the roll of honour, and then the photos around them. So the girls are really keen to identify them and match them up. So if you've got chance this weekend, pop over to the church, have a look at those photos, have a look at the names, and hopefully we can try and identify them all. Kia ora tātou.
kore rātau e koro heketia. Pēnei I a tātou kua mahue nei. E kore hoke rātau e ngoi kore. Ahakoa pēhia I ngā āhuatanga o te wā. I te heke ngā atu o te rā, tai noa ki te aranga mai I te ata. Ka maumahara tonu tātou ki a rātau. Ka maumahara tonu tātou ki a rātau.
Right, we're coming to the most important part of the day, which is the hangi.
Hangi's just getting out of the ground.
That's out. All right. So I'm going to fall over soon with hunger. What we have to do today, we're going to give out some taonga and gratitude for the help we've had over the years. They're from Tuahiwi and Ngāi Tahu. So first of all, we'd like to thank Tainui for the wonderful koha that they gave our kai whakahaere. And what we have is a stone carved by one of our greater artists, Fane Robinson from Makafi or Rūnanga, and it's an absolutely stunning, beautiful piece of art. There's no use showing you, it's just wonderful. Now, there's some other people, no need to come up stage because you're far too old. One of the persons that we want to thank, because she was there during the years in the cookhouse feeding the people, Pat. Patricia Silk Anglin. The next we want to honour are two sisters, younger sisters always are left unacknowledged, but two of them, one is gone, and that's Ngāwini and Toko. Now, there was a revolution in our wharekai many years ago when she helped Dad do the food, and she introduced things like fruit. And that was Alamein. Where's Alamein? Alamein? Take it down to Alamein. The next one that I want to acknowledge, when I wrote his obituary, I had that he was an A-team member, because he was, and he helped Dad during the 1980s in the old Trust Board building. He always drove Dad in. He's never been acknowledged, and that was Jim Otiaika. So can I please have Hillary receive this? Hillary? Two tribes have come from a long way to help us on our economic development. One representative comes from the Nizhka, and the other representative comes from the Shuswap people in Kamloops. May I ask Manny Jules and Diane Craig to receive these, please. I'm counting. I've got 2 left, yeah? All right. We're leaving one behind. There's one other person, and I know how these things go because I've watched it firsthand. They're very rarely acknowledged, and if I was them, I would have quite a cynical view of who we are. Because quite often we understand our own beauty, but there's another side to us, and we all know how that goes and how it is. She's not here today, but I actually think it's important because we need to show some grace on this matter, because they have to suffer, and I've seen them suffer, and actually I've seen things that aren't nice happen, and they've borne the brunt of it. Tipune, I understand the trials that Sandra has had, and this is for Sandra. Can you please accept on our behalf? There is one more. We'll deal with that on the appropriate time when they're here. Look, I give up. 5 minutes to go before the hangi. I can't sing, I can't tell jokes, I'm not that humorous. So I'm going to hand over to someone who can fill in the 5 minutes. I believe we have a couch. They sit on it and they talk to you. Can someone please take over now?
Kia ora, thank you. Kia ora, thank you, Tamaire. Thank you, everyone. It's been a wonderful afternoon up until this point. There's 3 of us emceeing today, so I would like to introduce to the stage Ngāi Tahu, who's our 3rd MC.
Sorry, I did have an idea for the 5 minutes. One is a very dear old friend who's actually contributed a lot to the tribe culturally, and he wanted 5 minutes. He's going to get 2. You'll get 3. Tahu, can you please come up here? Tahu was quite ill last year and the years before. He has a message for us. A very close friend. He raided Tuahiwi some time ago. Please speak.
O tēnā koutou. O e tuatahi mihi atu ki a koutou. Tūāhuriri, tā whiriwhiri mai. Tūāhuriri. Poi kai mai Tuahuriri whakamanuhiri mai tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou. Tēnā koutou, ngā hā kui, ngā hā koro, kai te whare nei, Ngāi Tahu e tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. Just thought I'd take the opportunity. A year ago, or 2 years ago when we had the Hui-ā-Iwi, I wasn't there in Dunedin. I was looking forward to it, but I was too sick. I was in bed. I was too sick to show up. And then last year at the same time, I was bedridden and ended up having to go to Auckland in early December. And I spent about 4 months up there. And at one time, the doctors had said to me I had about 2 weeks left to live because I'd had end-stage liver disease. And luckily on February the 17th this year, after all sorts of interventions, including special types of medicine and an incredible group of medical specialists at Auckland University, and karakatia from our Rūnanga, Scotty Morrison, and all sorts of things. I managed to survive till February the 17th when they gave me a new liver. And since then, I've gone from strength to strength. At the point that I received the liver, I could no longer walk. My kidneys had stopped operating effectively. I hadn't eaten for about a month, just sucking on these sort of milk drink things. And now I'm back at home with the kids who have had to go through a pretty rough time and with my family. And I stand here as a result of an organ donation program. And when I was in recovery in Auckland, a friend of mine who actually, he came here and emceed at Tuahiwi, I think it was, about 10 years ago, Paiheretia. He came to see me and, he shared with me the story of his son, Taina, who, because he is Māori and had leukemia, One of the ways to address leukemia is through a bone marrow transplant. But if you are Māori, then the only person that you can receive bone marrow from in a transplant is another Māori person. And the number of people that donate bone marrow that are Māori and are young and fit and healthy enough to do so is minute. There are very few. So Pio and his wife have set up a trust, which I'm also a member of, called Trust Taina. And it's to promote, firstly, the idea that Māori and Pacific Island people can donate bone marrow, but also for Māori to donate organs. My father-in-law who's here, I think Edward Ellison, he was somebody that was, adherent to those ideas that have been handed down about the body remaining intact and tikanga Māori. But of course, since my illness, and he saw the impact on the whānau, he's become an organ donor. And as will other people in our little community out there on the Otago Peninsula, simply because they've seen the very human impact of such an intervention. And so I'm just here to do two things. One is to encourage you to have that debate amongst your own whānau. The time's now to see whether or not this is the sort of thing that you're prepared to do, because it's only a matter of time before there's someone you know, a whānau member, where this will be an important question to answer. And also to let you know that in support of Trust Taina, at the start of December, there is a bike marathon trekking for Taina starting in Bluff and heading right through the country. And we'll be doing some promotional stuff about it so people know, but it's about fundraising and awareness raising, and any support that you guys can give us. And I'm going to give them, the participants, the addresses of all the marae so they can stop on the way. Most of them are going to be able to stop at those little villages and say hello and take the opportunity for a bit of promotion and any fundraising that people feel like they can contribute to. So that's a little bit of my story and a little bit of encouragement for all of us to think about, take home and debate. Tēnā koutou, kia ora tātou.
Thank you, Tahu. Tahu actually employed my brother Tiari back in the day when Tahu was CEO, maybe, of Ngāi Tahu, and Tiari always had beautiful words to say about Tahu. Now, let me introduce our third MC for our Hui-ā-Iwi, Melanie Taite Pituma. Round of applause, please.
Kia ora te whānau. Tēnā koutou katoa, ngā mihi kia koutou. Hari ko ana te ngākau ki te kiti I te toko maha kua taimai nei, I raru I tēnei o ngā tuanui, tēnā koutou. It's an awesome event to be a part of, so thank you very much for coming along and participating. And we've got a fantastic lineup over the weekend for you all. But without sort of getting into that too much at the moment, we know that Kai is almost ready. So we'll give you the nod when I get the text from Paiheretia. I know it's great technology, that we don't have to have the tangi o te pere. Anyhow, I'm going to introduce you. You can see a couple of couches up here. When Benj, Amaria and I were talking about what we could do to keep you engaged, one of the things that we talked about was having sort of like a on-the-couch kōrero or a talk to your auntie's kōrero. But we've got three guests eagerly waiting out here. They will be, they need no real introductions from me, but to bring them up on stage, we'll do this. So firstly, I'd like to introduce you to Nathan Pōwhiri. Nau mai hara mai e hoa. Oh, second kiss of the day. No. Woohoo! No. Ka pai. Secondly, and here he is, Mr. Joe Moody himself. Grew up just over the paddocks. Oh, he's going to give me a hug.
I was going to.
A bear hug.
Okay, and our third guest today to sit on the couch with us is Reno Tirakātene.
So we're just going to introduce you to our whānau. You know them probably through the media or through some of their feats throughout the last few years, but we just wanted to get for you to get to know them a little bit better. So Melanie, first, we have some questions. We have some well-prepared questions, actually.
Yeah, so you can see they're all mic'd up. I think I'm going to start with Joe over there being the youngest of us all. Joe grew up over the paddocks over there in the Pitama homestead. Joe, just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, like Mel said, I grew up here pretty much. My tao's house was right across the road here. I went to Tuahiwi Primary School. Tawa spent a lot of time over here, so you know, when we finished up at school and everything, and she was over here, we'd always be over here playing around. So Tuahiwi Marae and Tuahiwi itself had a lot to do in my upbringing. So yeah.
Ka pai.
Awesome. And Nathan, yourself, where were you born and where did you grow up?
Well, I grew up at Rapaki.
That's okay. That's okay.
But of course, I'm from here. I was with my mother and my grandfather, Douglas Pōhio and Elmer Pōhio, couch from Rapaki, and I grew up around there. So I was next door to Auntie May and across the road from Auntie Rima and Uncle Charlie and Charlie there. And that's probably my earliest memories, maybe Rapaki. I went to Aranui High Primary School and Chisnwood Intermediate, Aranui High School, before heading off to university and studying fine arts.
Beautiful.
Ka pai. And no surprise to you, Rino. Congratulations in retaining your seat in Parliament. How about yourself?
Thank you for the I'm a car boy as well. Oh, can you hear me? Oh, kia ora whānau. Yeah, so I was pretty much raised in the fish and chip shop there in Woodend. I was born there early 70s. Actually born in Rangiora, but my dad actually delivered me because the doctor didn't get there in time. And yeah, so originally this is home. Uncle Jim Mana, he christened me in the old hall not long after I was born. But spent most of my life up in Pōneke, where I was, it's great to see, I was very much involved in the Ratana church and the band and all of that. So church and politics was sort of always around, and lo and behold, here I am now. So, but it's lovely to catch up with everybody. Kia ora. Awesome, wicked. Joe, I'm just going to the 2015 World Cup, Rugby World Cup in England. I remember the games very well. Quarter final, there was an injury. You got the call up. I thought, sweet, Joe's going to get a seat on the bench. He's going to get 20 minutes. They threw you straight into the starting lineup. Tell me what was going through your head then.
Yeah, honestly, it was probably more of a surprise to me than it was to you. I sort of flew over there, and then, like you say, I was expecting to maybe be on the bench at best, and most likely just sort of be a pad holder kind of thing. And then, yeah, old Crocky got injured in the first 20 minutes in that quarter final, and I was on for 60 minutes in the quarters, and then I ended up starting the semi and the start of the final of the World Cup. So it was honestly it was a huge surprise to me, but from not being selected originally, but at the same time, man, it was awesome. Just embraced it and loved it. So yeah,
we're so proud of you, Joe. Everyone watched. I mean, we're so proud of our All Blacks, of course. And Nathan, yourself, so from university, you carried on to into your art form?
Yes, I had actually 2 papers to go to finish my degree, so I actually went up to Auckland to finish some papers, and it was there that kind of carried on studies in traditional Māori society, contemporary Māori society, and film and art theory and everything like that. And
is that your cell phone ringing?
Excuse me. And I went off to university. I made a feature-length documentary called The Ballad of Richie Venus when I finished my degree. And there was a feature-length film. And from there, I decided I didn't want to make films anymore. Films are really hard work. They're a project that you are dedicated to for about 2 years to 4 years at least. And I learned pretty quickly I just wanted to be an artist and focus on that. So started making art and working. I think probably one of the relevant things here is, of course, looking at making work from a contemporary Māori art or a contemporary Māori society view and trying to work out what actually that is. And there's a certain amount of naivety, I think, through it. But I also only stayed with the things that were that I felt I could deal with. So I worked within the home. I decided to stay within the idea of the whare inside the home, working through with whānau, and I just made small works that anyone could make really around the house, but they were focused around whānau. And one of them in particular, I guess, was called Sleeper, which was my nephew sleeping and the stars and the planets that were attached to the ceiling of his bedroom. I completely remade his ceiling in my parents' garage and used UV lights to keep the light consistent so I could use the camera. And of course, through my shared education, through whānau and my own learning, of course, I come to see the work differently in that I have the protection, if you like, of a nephew, but also the idea of the stars or the presence of stars, and now the richness that they have for me through our ancestry.
Tēnā koe. Reno, you've worked in politics now for a number of years. There might be some budding politicians out there actually in the crowd. My question is, you work for our people, you work on behalf of our people. What's it like working for Jacinda?
She's got quite a set of chompers. I marvel at them. Gnarly. I've had a good close-up look at times and they're perfect. But no, Jacinda's amazing. She's our Prime Minister now. I think what she achieved during a 7-week campaign was incredible. I just really hitched my wagon onto hers and we went around the Waiponamu. And so I'm really proud of her, and she's really stepped up to that role. And yeah, I'm just trying to keep up. I'm just so in awe of my whanaunga here, with the talent. All Black, give it up for Joe. Homai te Pakipaki. I mean, there's a local pa boy, and Nathan as well, with all what he's doing in the toy Māori world. It's incredible.
And so what you're doing is pushing everything from you to them. So let's hoki kia koe hoa, because I haven't finished with my questions yet.
Then you've got a humble politician in me.
It's true. Jacinda is giving a number of people across the world a run for their money. How does she give you a run for your money?
Oh, well, yeah, I don't really have much to do with her because she's got all these minders around her these days. But no, she's a very smart young lady, 37 years old. I'm just amazed how she was able to, effortlessly step up to a very high pressure campaign and now step right up to the top role as our Prime Minister. So I'm just thrilled to be part of the team. Can I acknowledge our whanaunga Nook Korako, who's our other Ngāi Tūāhuriri Member of Parliament. I'll give a shout out to Nook. Both Nook and I sit on the Māori Affairs Committee. He was our chair of that committee in the last Parliament, and I have the honour of being the chair in this Parliament. So we even though we sit across different sides of the House, we do work together. So it's it's great to. I must acknowledge him as well.
Ka pai, that's whanaungatanga real.
Can you tell me, Reno, the Māori caucus, what's the feeling inside the Māori caucus? There's 13 of you MPs now?
Yeah, it's a great feeling. There's a lot of us, 13. And we still haven't organised who's putting on the kai. We've still got to work that out. But no, it's really great. We had an excellent hui yesterday. We've called in, various leaders in Māoridom to share their whakaaro about what they're hoping, expecting, and challenges they're laying down to us. So, we get on really well. It's
awesome. I'm just going to jump over to Joe because I'm getting the hand from Annie Lizzie to let us know Kai's not far away. So, Joe, I grew up with your 3 sisters. What was it like for you growing up with your three sisters?
It had its ups and downs. Yeah, they used to gang up on me a bit, bully me a little bit, and sometimes I was used as the wee pet that got dressed up in their dresses and put makeup on. But
do your All Black friends know that?
No, I probably actually shouldn't have said that in public, but if we could just keep that between us, that'd be real good. But
Awesome.
they've always been pretty good to me and always looked after me because I'm the baby as well. So they've been good.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And Nathan, for you, family, partner, spouse?
I'm single.
Whoa.
Oh.
There we go, aunties.
I'll leave my card at the reception.
It's all right, Nathan, you just told the whole room, so I'm quite sure everybody knows.
We've just had to ring in the bell, so I would assume that Kai is ready. Please don't rush. There's plenty of Kai in there. The first ring would tell us that Te Ao Marama is open for a kaumatua, so your tables are ready to be seated. There's plenty of space, so take your time as you go, and we're going to be sitting here for another 5 or 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Rino, how about you? Big family? Wife, married?
Oh, three older siblings, but I've got 3 beautiful children. 17, 13 and 12. Yeah. So they're the next generation coming through.
Beautiful.
Awesome. So this is a question for all 3 of you. Which is better to follow, your heart or your mind?
Joe?
Oh, heart, for sure.
Heart?
Yeah.
Oh, I think there's a place for both. Yeah, it doesn't really answer your question very well, but yeah, I think there's a place for both.
Yeah, I agree.
Rino?
I think it's the puku, because everyone here is going out there heading for having a kai.
Yeah.
So, the whole tinana, all good.
Okay, next question for all 3 of you. If you were invisible, where would you go?
The bank.
The bank. Aren't you rich enough already?
Hey?
And for you, Nathan, if you're invisible, where would you go?
The bank's pretty good. I'd quite happily head back to Athens, though. Athens was pretty beautiful.
Awesome.
If there was a chance to go back or see another part of the world, I would totally do that. Yeah.
And Rino, for you?
Yeah. Well, they all sound good to me. I'll go anywhere and everywhere.
Wicked. So, Joe, coffee or tea?
Tea.
Coffee.
Nathan, wine or beer?
Huh?
Wine or beer?
Wine.
Itchy or scratchy for the rest of your life?
Sorry?
Itchy or sticky for the rest of your life?
Itchy.
Itchy, yeah.
Nathan, itchy or scratchy?
No, itchy or sticky for the rest of your life?
Itchy, for sure.
Vanilla chocolate? Vanilla or chocolate?
Chocolate.
Chocolate.
Oh. And the women too?
Huh?
Dark.
Women too?
What?
Women too?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, sure.
Joe, facial hair or clean shaved?
Huh?
Facial hair.
Oh.
What was the question?
Facial
I like
hair
to
or clean shave.
keep it well
Oh,
groomed.
clean shaven.
Yeah, now, whānau, we're just going to finish up now because we can see people are leaving, but I don't know, have you all heard of William Wairua? William Wairua, he's a very big icon for New Zealand right now. He does the whole, wow, we, and there it is. We want all 3 guys to show you their wow, we, just before they leave the stage. So everybody, we're going to stand up. I hope they've Googled what I've asked them to do. So, Joe, we're going to start with you. Show us your wow, we.
Wowee.
Nathan.
Wowee.
Circles.
And Eno.
Oh.
Ka pai. Well, actually, whānau, William Wairua worldwide is a wowee. So you all got it wrong, but that's okay because you're an All Black and you're a curator and you're a politician, so I'm not expecting you to get everything right. And the last one, there he is. Let's have it, Joe.
There he is.
Awesome. Ka pai, Nath.
Ooh. There he is.
Oh. Where you go, Rino? There they are, whānau. Let's give them a big clap. Thank you so much for coming out and spending some time with us this afternoon. Ngā mihi kia koutou katoa.
So please, whānau, go and have a kai. The kai hakari's ready. That ends the events for here in the main tent today. But the stores, there's much more activity going on throughout the afternoon. Check your programs if you want to know what's happening, and we'll see you all back on this stage tomorrow at 8:50. Kia ora koutou.